Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started. If anyone else decides to join, that's cool too. If you are here for the webinar on understanding survival mode and how to master stress and nurture your body through grief, then this is the place for you. Yeah, Lauren, I see you raised your hand. What's up?
Curious, is there a transcription of what is going on within the meeting? Kind of like on Microsoft Teams, how there's transcribing being done?
Oh, I don't have that happening right now, but I can certainly like get something like after once this is recorded. If you want a transcription of this information, I can certainly figure out how to do that.
I can always ask AI too. Like, there's an AI companion component to this, and they know like any question, like how to record and transcribe and where that transcription would be kept.
Okay, cool.
It's just a
I'm
career
open to
that I'm
trying
working.
that.
Yes, cool. Thanks.
Okay,
That's all.
so yeah, if you want to play with that, go ahead. All right, got some people joining us. So just admit them here. Hello, welcome to those who are joining. All right, let's dive in. We got about 45 minutes here. So I'm going to do my best to keep this concise. I'm a nerd about all of this. So I'll do my best not to talk so much and keep this simple for you because it can be a lot to unpack. Hello there. Welcome to those who are joining. Welcome to this webinar on understanding survival mode. So this is all about how do we nurture our body through grief. Grief is stressful. It can leave us feeling lost and overwhelmed. And I just want to give you some tools on how to navigate all of that, how to understand how the stress of grief is impacting your body and what to do about that. So I'll give you some information, I'll give you some tools that you can walk away with today, and then we can talk about next steps and how to really anchor in the information that you'll be trying out today here. So, oh no. First slide, I don't know. Okay, here we go. Perfect. So welcome. Thanks for being here. Before we dive in, I like to do a little grounding exercise just to drop into the moment, to transition out of the day so far and to let go of all the things that will be coming after this webinar here. So then we can dive in. So if you're comfortable, I invite you to find a comfortable seat and to close your eyes. So let's just take a to tune in to how you're feeling in this moment. So I invite you to close your eyes and just notice the breath. Take a few deep cleansing breaths in through the nose and out the mouth, letting go of any stress, any tension. Inhaling to scoop up any stress from the day. And a nice long exhale out the mouth. Or a deep cleansing breath like this in through the nose. And out the mouth. And with your eyes closed, just take a moment to tune into how your body is feeling right now in this moment. Noticing your body sitting in the chair. Noticing your feet on the floor. Noticing how your body feels. Maybe you notice areas of pain or tension and just becoming aware of any of those sensations that you might be feeling in the body. And feeling into the support that's underneath your body. feeling into where your body connects with the chair, and allowing your body to be heavy, to melt into that support. And if there's someone that your heart loves and misses today, to take a moment and see them in your mind's eye. Maybe you connect with their smile or their energy and their warmth, and just feeling them in your heart. And take a nice deep breath in through the nose, filling up the lungs and the belly and the chest. And a nice long exhale to release. And when you are ready, you can blink the eyes open and return back to this space. Maybe you take a peek around your room, orient to your surroundings. Maybe you take a peek out the window and connect with some nature. Just dropping into this space here. So, hello, thank you. Thank you for being here and for getting vulnerable and talking about all the grief and stress. I know it's overwhelming and can be hard to sit with this sometimes. And it's my goal to give you some tools so that you can walk away from today feeling a little bit more supported, feeling a little bit more confident on how to really navigate the stress of grief and how to understand how it's impacting your body. So a little bit about me. My name is Cami Thielander. I am a grief coach. I'm also a craniosacral therapy practitioner. That's a form of body work that helps the body to release stress and trauma. I'm also a certified yoga teacher. I have training as a death doula, and I also have my Bachelor of Science. So I'm all about the body and nature and how to understand the energy and kind of this abstract emotional, spiritual grief experience that we have. So merging this spiritual and energetic and emotional understanding with the body and what it's like to be human and to have this human physical experience on this earth. And I got into this work because my dad died. He's up here. This is me and little Cammy and my dad. He had ALS, so he passed when I was 11. He was sick for about a year, and his body slowly deteriorated over that time as he was sick. Before that, my parents had divorced. So as you can imagine, I grew up kind of in this just experiencing grief. I grew up on grief and experiencing some of the changes that come with, a split family and my dad becoming sick. And then later, my mom remarried. This is Greg. He was my stepdad. He had prostate cancer and he passed when I was 15. And this was a totally different, contrasting experience from my dad's death. I was bedside for both of them. And my dad's death was chaotic and disorganized, and Greg's death was at home and just wholesome, surrounded by family. So totally different experiences, but I got to see firsthand what grief and death is all about from a young age. So that's a little bit about how I got into all of this work. And as the years went on, just like most of us, I had no idea what to do about grief. I distracted myself. I avoided it. I was a kid just trying to be a kid and used school and work and substances and anything that I could get my hands on to not be in my grief. And as you can imagine, this caught up with me. Suppressing your grief doesn't really get you anywhere. And I really started to feel that pain of the grief in my body. So I was experiencing panic attacks and some pretty awful anxiety paired with depression and just a lack of motivation to really do things, all while just staying busy and going to school. And that started to catch up with me. I was really feeling a lot of that pain in my body, and the panic attacks were only getting worse. So I started to turn to alternatives. And that's how I got into a lot of these healing modalities. I started with food as medicine and essential oils. And then that kind of progressed into energy medicine, body work, yoga, craniosacral therapy, and then I found death doula training and grief coaching, and paired with my understanding of biology and the body, this is kind of how I bring all of this to serve all of you who are here listening to this right now. So thank you for being here and for allowing me to share about what I do and why I do this. It's healing for me to do this for little Cammy and for both of my dads. Feels like it gives me a sense of purpose to be able to help people and support people through what I went through, and the person that I wish that I had during that time. So thanks for being open to all of this. My goal for you today is to help you understand how your body's reacting to grief and stress and what to do about it. Why do we do this? Because healing really starts in the body. I experienced this firsthand with a lot of the physical symptoms of my grief experience that I shared with you. And counseling didn't work for me. I couldn't talk my way out of this. And that's really when I started to turn to my body for the answers and started to turn towards these other modalities that I'll share with you today. And when we avoid our grief, when we don't address it, and when we are living in chronic stress, this leads to dis-ease and suffering. I was stuck there for 10 years, and I can tell you that time does not heal that. Time doesn't heal grief. It's really about doing the work and supporting ourselves in this process. So I want to give you some resources to do that for yourself. Oh my gosh, Bobby, I see your message that your dad died from ALS also. Wow. I've only met a couple other people who have had someone die from ALS, and that's like, oh yeah, a brutal thing to go through. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, let me see how I can scoot this along again. Okay, so the body in grief. Here's what you need to know. Our mammalian brain, because we are mammals, our brains are wired for connection. As mammals, we rely on one another for our survival. You know, if you're a mother and you have children, it's your natural instinct to protect them, just like how you're a child, how you need your parents in order to survive. So this is wired deep into our body, into our DNA, to care for one another and to be protected by one another. There is healing in connection. We are socially oriented mammals. We need other people to survive in this life. And what happens when we lose a loved one is that mammalian part of our brain views this as a life threat. When we are not close with our person, if, obviously we have this conscious understanding that they have died, and our mammalian brain is in the background speaking to us saying, get near them, go be with them, get close to them, you need to protect them, you need to be protected by them. So our brain views their loss as a threat to our survival. And because we are in this survival mode now, our body is doing everything in its power to try to keep us safe, to get near that person. And of course, as you've experienced, when they're dead, you cannot get close to them. So it creates this yearning and this longing and this confusion in our brains and our bodies, when our body is really amping up, telling us to get near them, telling us to protect them, to be protected by them. It creates a lot of turmoil in our brain and our body. And when this survival mode is kicked on, we experience a lot of symptoms here that you can see. Of course, sleep issues, digestion problems, headache and migraines, body aches and pains. You might notice your blood pressure and your heart rate increasing as the blood flow goes away from your brain and to your limbs of your body. So your blood will actually go to your arms and legs, because now we're prepared for that fight or flight mode. We're prepared to run for our lives or to protect our person. Our immune system gets compromised. We're not worried about fighting off illness if we're in the moment fighting for our survival. We experience brain fog. That conscious thinking part of our brain, that prefrontal cortex, gets turned off, and those instinctual parts of our brain, those animalistic parts of our brain, get turned on and activated, along with that emotional part of our brain, which is why it's really hard to think. Which is why we get this brain fog and this fatigue as well, this tiredness, because this is exhausting for the body to be in this stress mode, in this survival mode. And grief activates this stress mode. So if you're feeling like you are experiencing these symptoms, along with, a sense of overwhelm or panic or anxiety, all of these things are your body's response to your loss. So especially when the loss is fresh and someone has died, your brain is viewing that as a threat to your survival, and that survival mode is kicked on, and we might be experiencing these symptoms chronically for a while. We're living in that state, which is why it's so hard to function. We feel so overwhelmed and so emotional all the time. And our body feels tired and wired and overwhelmed all at the same time. So, if you're experiencing any or all of these things, I just want to normalize that it's not your fault. This is your body's way of trying to keep you safe and protect you. And that's confusing because, of course, our loved one is gone. So now we have to figure out, how do we navigate this survival mode? What can we do in order to work with our body to get through this grief process? So just curious, what kinds of things do you all experience? These symptoms that are listed here are really common, especially when the loss is fresh and our brain has this new information that our person is gone. When that hits us, it can kind of take us into that state of, the shock or the numbness or the overwhelm, along with these physical symptoms in the body. So if you would like to share a little bit of what you've experienced in your grief journey, has any of these symptoms come up for you? Feel free to share that in the chat. I would love to hear. For me, it was definitely like I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. Um, Even though like I wanted to sleep, like I didn't want to get out of bed, my body wouldn't let me sleep. I really felt those body aches and pains. I know my sister, after my dad died, got sick for like a month. She got really sick and bedbound for a while, and that was her body's response to grief. So just curious what you all have experienced, and if you would like to share that in the chat, I encourage you to do so. What do we got here? Still experiencing issues. It's been 8 months. Yeah, 18 months since you lost your parents. All of those symptoms. Yeah. 4 family members broke up. Yeah, the grief of a breakup as well. Totally valid. That's a lot of stress. Feeling frozen. Yep. All of those symptoms. Feeling lost and disoriented, aches and pains, severe fatigue. Crying a lot, fear. Yeah, losing a son will certainly do that. Yeah, thank you for sharing all of that. I think it's important to realize too, like, we're not alone in this. This is a very normal experience to be having, and it's not your fault. It's your body's reaction to this, and it really is hard to function, right? It's that survival mode that kicks in that wants to protect us from this pain. Yeah, actually looking for them, searching and calling their name. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Bobby. That's a really good question. That is also a part of the brain's response to losing someone. Because our brain is a blueprint of the past, it has all this information about how our person is in our world with us. We have all these years with them, we have all these experiences with them, and that's what our brain remembers. So now when we get this new information that our person is not here, our brain is still looking for them and calling for them and expecting them to walk in the door, because that's the blueprint that our brain is mapped out with all of that information. So we need to give our brain some time to rewire into new neural pathways with this new information, that we can understand, like, okay, they're gone. I don't need to freak out every time I remember that they're gone, because I know that I'm safe. I know that I don't need to go into survival mode every time I remember that. And that's rough for a while, because we get that trigger and that longing and that searching, and we go to call them and then we realize that we can't, and that we get heartbroken all over again. All of those things are the brain's way of processing this information. So if you're experiencing that, like, have some patience for your brain learning this information, and to understand that, yeah, this is a part of the process, and it's rough for sure. So thank you for sharing that, Bobby. Okay, I'm about to share with you a bunch of this information here. Don't get overwhelmed. I'm going to break it down. This is a map of the fight or flight, that survival mode. So this is actually a graph of representing polyvagal theory. And polyvagal theory is explaining how the nervous system works. And the nervous system is the one system in our body that rules all the other systems of the body. Sorry. So the nervous system, of course, is that mind-body connection. It's all of the nerves that run from the brain to the ends of your fingertips and toes to each of the organ systems. And it's the communication between your brain and your body. So there's constantly this firing of nerve signals to the brain and the body, communicating information. So when the brain receives information like your loved one is gone, or there's a trigger or a memory or something that comes up, your brain is telling your body now, and your nervous system is reacting to that stress. And this is what's happening. So to break this down, I've got to move this little faces out of the way here so I can see. Okay, so this social engagement at the bottom here. This is where we want to be. This is that state of the nervous system where we feel calm and safe and connected. This is where we want to be, right? We want to be in the present moment. We want to feel grounded. We're curious and we're open to experiencing life. We can feel compassion to other people. This is the healing mode that our body naturally operates in. Our organ systems are functioning normally. We can digest our food. We can sleep well at night. Our body is doing all of its detoxing, healing pathways without us having to think about it. Things are going well for us in our lives. And this little squiggly line here represents when we experience little stressors in our life or even excitement. Maybe we feel really excited to some passion that comes up for us, and maybe we're dancing and we have this happy kind of energy that's being activated in the body. So that's what this little squiggly line represents. And it represents that we can come back into this safe zone. We feel good. We feel safe with that excitement. Now, what happens with stress is that our nervous system starts to get charged with energy, and our body is responding to a survival threat. Our nervous system is taking in some information. In this case, it's the information that our loved one is gone. Maybe we get a trigger, and our body views that as danger to our lives and starts to go into that survival mode, into that stress response. So as this energy starts to build up in the nervous system, our body kicks on those survival instincts, and our body is preparing for fight or flight or freeze, those protective mechanisms that are going to keep us safe when we're in danger. So when we are in this fight or flight response and this energy is becoming charged in the nervous system, we might feel that worry. We might feel concerned. We might get frustrated or irritated. We might feel some fear. Anger and rage can build up, and we might experience panic. This is a response to stress hormones coursing through the body. Our heart rate increases. Our body is preparing to fight. It's preparing to run away from the danger in order to battle the danger. All of these things are kicking on in our body is attempting to keep us safe. So when we're experiencing that fear and that panic and that rage and that stress, and we're feeling all of those symptoms in the body, this is your body going into that fight or flight response to move away from danger and to move towards safety. So we might feel like this quote here that like I can do it. I have the power to make some changes and protect myself, protect my loved ones. So instinctually, that's what's happening when we're noticing those signals of the body. Now, what happens is if we cannot change the situation to battle the danger, to get out of the dangerous situation and move towards safety, if we cannot resolve that situation, then our body goes into this freeze mode. That stress keeps going and keeps building, and then it becomes too much. And then we hit this freeze mode and we're frozen. Our body collapses and we feel immobile. We can't speak. It's like your brain kind of melts. You feel this numbness, you feel this dissociation. You might feel depressed, super low energy, super tired. You might feel helpless. Even the shame and the shutdown, all of these symptoms that we're experiencing in this freeze mode are actually the body's way of shutting us down in order to prepare for death. So if we cannot do something to change the stressful situation and do something about the danger, then that becomes too much for the body and it decides, I'm going to die. I'm going to do whatever I can to make this as least painful as possible. And this is where we get that freeze mode. We feel collapsed. We feel shut down. We are literally preparing for death. So you think about a possum that plays dead, where they're, this happens like if a coyote or a predator is chasing them, then they cannot get out of that stressful situation. They can't climb up a tree and get out of danger. Then they just play dead and they flop over. And this is their body going into that collapse. Because now, if the coyote gets them, then at least they're going to be feeling that pain of the situation. So, as you can imagine, the stress of grief takes us into this fight or flight or this freeze response. And it's really easy to get stuck here. It's really easy to feel that anxiety and that fear and that panic. And at the same time, this doesn't have to be a one or the other. We might also feel that numbness. We might also feel that dissociation. We might feel shut down and trapped in our situation. So all of these things are your body responding to the stress of losing your loved one. And if we don't do something to resolve the stress, then our nervous system can get stuck here and creates a situation of chronic stress. So this is called nervous system dysregulation, when we get stuck in these modes for a long period of time. It's normal for the nervous system to be activated and then to come down again, to deactivate and come down to this green mode, this safety, this social engagement. Let's say the possum plays dead and then the coyote loses interests and walks away because now that possum isn't running, that instinct of the coyote isn't activated anymore, and it gets disinterested and it walks away. So now the possum is coming out of that shutdown mode and will eventually come back down into the safe mode. Like its nervous system will regulate itself. It'll find that safety again in its body and go on with its day. So what happens if we get stuck in this fight or flight or this freeze mode? Well, when we notice that we are here, if we feel the anxiety or the fear or the panic coming on, if we feel the depression or the numbness or the dissociation, then those are signals from our body that we can listen to and do something about. Because naturally our nervous system wants to come down and deactivate to release the stress and come back to this space of healing, this safety where we can connect with others and feel good in our bodies again. However, we live in a society that doesn't like to address grief. We don't like to feel the fear. We don't want to spend time with these things. It's too much to handle, so we distract. We have no idea how to deal with the stress or the trauma or whatever it is that we've experienced. So we live in this dissociation. So we live in this fear mode because it feels safer to be there than it does to be vulnerable, to be relaxed. And then we experience nervous system dysregulation. And then we experience a chronic fight or flight or freeze response. And we experience chronic health issues. We experience chronic immune system compromises and suffering for long term. I was stuck in this fight or flight mode for 10 years after my dad died because I had many stressful years in my childhood and my nervous system decided that it liked to live here in this fear and anxiety. It felt better for me to be up here on guard all the time than it did to be relaxed and to feel safe in relationship, because my body learned that it was safer to put my guard up than it was to be in this social, safe, joyous, in the moment, grounded state of being. So when we can understand this, there is power. There is power when we can connect with this, because we can listen to our body and start to create that sense of safety in our body again. We can recognize when we're activated, when we're in a trigger and we're having a grief wave. And then we can learn what we need to do for ourselves to release that stress, to allow the body to move through this stress response and to come back down into that state of that calm, healing space. And that might feel hard when we're deep in our grief because we're constantly reminded of their absence. And we might notice that we are living in this space more often than we were before our loss, that we feel so overwhelmed and shut down all the time. And recognizing that is powerful because then we can use some tools and resources to train the body back into this state of safety where we can feel happy, we can feel joyous, we can feel connected to our loved ones, and we can live our lives again, even after loss. So I know that was a lot of information here. I just want to pause for a second and allow some of that to percolate, and answer any questions that might be coming up for you right now. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat or raise your hand, and we can talk about this a little bit. I hope I didn't confuse you all. And if not, that's okay too. We can keep going. We'll have a chance for questions at the end as well. Does anybody here recognize this activation into this fight or flight response or this freeze response? Like, what do you notice about your own nervous system and your own body with these signals? Or do you feel any of that? Do you feel like you're able to be present and grounded and in the moment and curious and open to life again? Or maybe you notice this activation and then at certain times of day or with certain reminders, and then other times of the day, you're able to be safe and grounded and connected with other people. Nice, Bobby. Yeah, you're familiar with polyvagal. Awesome. Yeah, it starts with the awareness and listening to the body, because then there's power. There's power in that. I stay in my own world. It's most comfortable. Yeah, people have a hard time understanding me. Yeah. Yeah, if someone's not in that state, if they're not, living in that dissociation or that numbness, it's going to be really hard for someone to understand if they've never experienced that, for sure. It's almost like you are numb, but it hurts at the same time. Yeah, it's like it's so painful and it's numb at the same time. It's like our body's protecting us from that pain and that numbness, by becoming numb, yet at the same time it's still so painful. Yeah, constant fight, flight, freeze, all of that. Yeah, all of it at the same time. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Yeah, apathy becomes so high. Yeah. It can feel really isolating. It can feel like our heart puts up these protectors and these cement walls to keep us far away from people. We don't want connection anymore, because it feels safer to not become close to people. It feels safer to be alone and on our own. Yeah, still in that fight or flight or freeze, tired of letting it own me. Yeah. Yeah. And, if these things come up for you, when you notice that you're activated, and you notice that fight or flight coming on, you notice that freeze, that shutdown, I really encourage you to pause and to give yourself some grace, because of course it's not really in our control. This is our brain and our body reacting to something subconsciously. We can't think our way through this process. This is something that happens in the deeper layers of the brain that our thinking brain cannot control. So this is an opportunity to practice nervous system regulation and to be present with our body, to be present with the grief that's coming up and to allow it to move through us, to process it, and to recognize that this is our body trying to keep us safe. I understand that it can feel so frustrating, especially because grief comes and it's super inconvenient, right? It comes out at the worst times, especially if we feel like we're living in this state constantly. but to just recognize, thank you, body, thank you, nervous system. Like these protective mechanisms have kept me alive for my whole life. Like my body's doing a really good job because I'm alive right now. Thank you. And we can move through this and get to the other side and come down to that space of safety and connection where I can live my life again and feel happy and keep moving forward with the things that I want to do in my life while still honoring my grief, while still honoring and missing my person at the same time, while having a better understanding of how to support my body when I notice this activation. How do I bring myself back down to move through it into this safe zone? So that's what I want to share with you here. Like I mentioned, the first thing to do is to notice, to listen to your body when you get those cues and those signals that come up. You notice the anxiety or the depression coming on, or maybe you feel a panic attack or whatever it is in your body. For me, I get like a sense of nausea or a sickness in my stomach that I notice, or a tightness in my chest or a tightness in my throat. And those are my body's way of signaling like, okay, I'm in that state of contraction. I'm in that state of stress. That's how my body's talking to me. And then when I can notice that, I can use these self-regulation tools. I can go into my toolbox and go to my list of things that I know how to support myself when I'm feeling that shutdown, when I'm feeling that anxiety or that panic attack coming up. Okay, what can I do to support myself through this instead of trying to dismiss it, instead of trying to shove down my feelings, instead of trying to distract myself? What can I actually do to work through this stress and release it so that I'm not storing it in the body? So we'll get to that in a second. Another thing to do is these self-regulation tools are amazing, and we can do some more deeper work as we're working with the body and these triggers to get to the root of what's causing that trigger, what's underneath that that's causing our brain and our body to become activated to put us into this stress response. We can actually do some deep healing work to rewire the brain and to train the nervous system into a different response. So that takes time and practice and a lot of attention and love, but it can be done. And that's where a lot of the work, you know, with a therapist or a grief coach or some other support in your life might be really helpful as you are learning these self-regulation tools. So right now, I encourage you to rate how you're feeling in your body or where you operate in most of the time. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling in your body right now? Take a moment to tune in and to identify. Are you feeling like you are maybe at that low end of the spectrum, that safe and social? You feel like you're feeling okay today. You're feeling at peace, you're feeling grounded, you're feeling present, you're feeling open. Um, Number 3 might be that like kind of excited, when we feel that excited energy, that happy energy of wanting to do things in the world. 4 to 7 might be I'm feeling a little frustrated or anxious or irritated. I have a little charge in my nervous system. I'm kind of antsy. And then 8 to 10 would be like, I'm frozen, I'm numb, I'm shut down, I'm just existing, I'm just walking through the world. I don't really feel things, things don't feel super real. I'm just kind of floating. So yeah, please do share in the chat where you are at today or where you are operating from a majority of the time. Okay, we got some 6, 7, 8, a 3. Okay. Low today. Yeah, and this changes throughout the day, right? It's like we might notice most of the time I live in that 3 or 4 and that kind of excited energy keeps me going. But then I notice at nighttime, maybe I get really activated for whatever reason, or a memory comes up and I spike up to a 9. So just having some awareness of how your nervous system feels throughout the day, throughout the week, from moment to moment, having more awareness of that is going to be really helpful. Okay, we got an 8, a 3 today, normally 7-ish. Then there's those times like a 9. Yeah. Yeah, so it definitely fluctuates for sure. Okay, so we have this awareness of the nervous system and how the body responds to stress and grief. We might understand what it feels like to be at those different numbers as we're noticing that cascade of the energy in the nervous system. So now what do we do about it? There are lots of different tools and strategies that we can use. And the goal is to allow that stress to move out of the body. So to instead of suppressing or running away from our grief or distracting or swallowing our tears, how can we allow that energy to be discharged out of the nervous system? When we can release that buildup of that charge of those stress hormones, of your heart rate racing, all of the physical responses that we get from the stress activation, we need to discharge that and process it to get it out of the body. And then we can come down to a place of peace and calm. For a lot of these tools and strategies, you might see like meditation is a big one. I hear from a lot of people, I can't meditate, like I can't slow down. I'm too anxious for that. And I ask them, well, are you jumping into this meditation and these calming techniques? Like, have you done anything to discharge that excess energy first? And most of the time, there's a misunderstanding with this that, well, I'm angry and I'm charged and I just need to calm down and I need to breathe through it. And I think what I'm trying to advocate here is that you might need to let it rip, get it out, have the ugly cry, go scream into a pillow, go punch something, like get that energy out of your nervous system and allow your body to process that stress, to burn up those stress hormones that are coursing through your body. Your muscles are activated because you're in fight or flight mode. Then we have to shake that off before we can come down back into that calm state of being. So just something to think about here as you're looking at these tools and strategies. I encourage you to write down one or two of these that maybe you already use, ones that you want to explore, things that might be interesting to you, or things that you could try on to support yourself in this process, with the understanding that it's really about connecting with the body, allowing the nervous system to discharge that excess energy so that we can come down into that safe, calm state of being again, which is where your body naturally wants to be. So, of course, crying, like feeling into it, allowing it to flow, moving your body is a really great way to process that energy. Having a temper tantrum, I am all for like having a safe space to process anger and that frustration and that rage in a safe way, obviously not at other people, and to do it in a controlled way where we can still be in charge of our emotions. And I have some tips and tricks for that as well. Breath work is a really great way. I love breath work because we always have the breath available to us all the time. And there's lots of different techniques with breath work, clearing out that stress and that energy from the body. Tapping, you might have heard of tapping or emotional freedom technique. That's the tapping. Grounding, putting your body on the earth, feeling that energy from the earth, being outside in nature. Touch, safe touch with yourself, with a loved one, can be really soothing for the nervous system. Essential oils also work on that part of the brain that's instinctual, that emotional part of the brain. There are lots of herbs out there and food as medicine. So there's lots of adaptogenic plant medicines that we can use to support our nervous system as well. And then there are other things like acupuncture, craniosacral massage, yoga, somatic experiencing, grief coaching, all of these things that we can turn to other professionals to support this process, to support the flow of energy in the body and nourishing the nervous system. So I want to be respectful of time. We just have a few minutes here, but I'd love to show you a couple of my go-to nervous system regulation techniques, just to try this on and give you a couple things that you can walk away with today. What oils and herbs do you recommend? Yeah, so essential oils were one of the first tools that I used for myself in my grief process before I got into a lot of the other healing work. First of all, you want to be really careful about the quality of the essential oils because a lot of them are toxic. They're not organic and they're actually harmful to the body. So first thing, I can answer this another time if you want to reach out to me. We can talk more about this too, but be careful about where your oils are coming from. But if you have a good source and you feel good about that they're organic and they're pure, then I recommend lavender is like a really great one for calming the body. Orange is a really good one as well. Earthy ones like pine or cedarwood or vetiver can be really grounding and calming. I actually make little blends of essential oils that you can roll on your skin and use some aromatherapy with, that I've used for myself over the years, and I actually sell them as well. So if you are interested in any of those resources, I have a lot of tools that I can share with you as well. As far as herbs go, adaptogenic herbs. Adaptogens are herbs that help your body adapt to stress. So you can look into that. Just Google like adaptogenic herbs, things like astragalus, medicinal mushrooms. Off the top of my head, I guess chamomile, the herb lavender. A lot of teas are out there as well for stress relief. Those are a really great way to take in plant medicine through teas, just steeping a calming tea at night. But then you have to do that consistently to really feel the effect over time. Mushroom gummies, yes. Yeah, I'm all for all the plant medicines for sure. Awesome. Yeah, okay. So if you're up for it, I would love to take a few minutes and walk you through some gentle movement and some breath to start just creating some space for processing stress and grief out of the body. These are things that you can practice on the daily whenever you need it. So I just want to give you a couple tools to walk away with. So I'm actually going to stop sharing so you can see me a little better here. What do I like? Put myself in the view, like in the middle. I don't know how to do that. Well, whatever. Speaker view. Like, how do I get spotlight? Okay, cool. Alrighty. So let's do some nervous system regulation. Alrighty, so wherever you're at, by the way, this is totally up to you. Don't do what doesn't feel good for you. If you want to opt out of any of this, you are more than welcome to. Please meet your needs. I am just offering some techniques to you, but of course, know what your limits are, and you can just watch and take it in if that feels better for you right now. But this is just an invitation. So start by tuning into your body, taking a moment to close your eyes and notice how you're feeling your body and the breath moving through you. Maybe you place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly, and just noticing the breath moving in and out like a wave washing over you. Taking some deep breaths in through the nose and out of the mouth. That long exhale and that sigh as you make a noise out of your mouth will actually help to discharge some stress. So I invite you to play with that. In through the nose and out the mouth. Nice long exhale. And you can gently blink the eyes open and take a peek at me. Scoot forward towards the edge of your chair, or you can do this standing. This move is called the windmill. So you'll inhale and sweep the arms overhead. And then as you exhale, you'll take the arms forward and then behind you. So you'll inhale to sweep the arms up. Exhale, sweep them behind you. Inhale the arms overhead. And go at a pace that feels good for your breath and your body. Inhaling to reach the arms overhead. And exhale to sweep them down and back. Maybe use some sound and sigh it out. Inhale to scoop up that stress and tension. And then exhale to sweep it behind you. Inhale the arms overhead. Exhale, release. If you're feeling a little bit of that anger and frustration and need something a little bit more intense to move this energy out of the body, if that's just a little bit too gentle for you, I want to show you a little bit more powerful move. Same idea. So you'll inhale to sweep the arms forward, grab your hands into fists, and then as you exhale, drive the elbows back. Huh. Powerful breath, scooping in and forward, and then exhale, elbows back. And I invite you to play with that roar, with that exhale. Inhale to scoop your hands forward. Oh, inhale to scoop your hands forward. Exhale, elbows back. And play with the sound, play with a roar, play with an exhale. Using that breath and that movement to process some of that anger and frustration. To grab that stress with your fists and exhale to release it, throwing it behind you with the shoulders. Go more on your own. Oh, my body's processing. And take a moment to shake it out. Shake your arms overhead. Take some deep breaths. Maybe you shake your legs one at a time. I like to do this standing typically. Taking off any residual stress or tension that you feel. And coming back to stillness, noticing how your body feels. Maybe you place a hand on your chest and a hand on the belly. Maybe you take a moment to close your eyes and turn inward for just a minute and tune into how your body is feeling. Noticing the breath move through you, in through the nose and out the mouth. Notice where you might be feeling some sensation in the body. If there's any tingling or heat anywhere where you might be feeling places of pain or tension. Or maybe you feel more relaxed and more calm, supported. And then if you'd like, you can keep your eyes closed. We'll do just a couple of rounds of square breathing. This can be really balancing for the body and the nervous system, activating that calm sensation, that calming, relaxed side of the nervous system. So on your next inhale, you'll breathe in through the nose to a count of 4. So inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold at the top, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold at the bottom, 2, 3, 4. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 2, 3, 4. One more round in, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. Hold at the bottom, 2, 3, 4. And I invite you to keep your eyes closed and just allow the breath to return back to its natural ebb and flow. And take a moment to notice how you're feeling in this moment. And if you were going to rate your nervous system on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate how you're feeling right now? Has that number from before shifted for you at all? Feel free to share in the chat if you would like how you're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10. Was that helpful? Did that feel calming for you? Just curious what your experience was like. If anyone would like to share it all. Went from an 8 to a 4. Yes. Very helpful. Awesome. One from a 7 or 8 to down to a 5. That's awesome. Yeah, it doesn't take much. From a 6 to a 3. Awesome. Yes. Just taking a couple moments to breathe and feel the body and to create some space to have your emotions, to create that space to walk away and cry when you need to breathe some of that stress out, to move your body and shake off a little bit of that cortisol. Some of those stress hormones can make a really big difference. And the goal, right, is to find that calm, that safe mode, that 1 to 3 space where we feel connected, we feel grounded in our bodies, we feel present in this moment. We can find that sense of peace and maybe welcome in some moments of joy and happiness again. You know, this practice, when we're constantly taken into the overwhelm of grief and stress, um, we can live in that space for a long time. In this practice of breathing when we need to and coming back to this connection with ourselves and with our body can be really powerful. And we get to experience that calm, that safe zone in our body, that healing state of our body for just a little bit more. Like a couple more moments every day is all it takes sometimes as we train the body back into feeling safe and grounded again. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm so glad this has been supportive. That's my goal, is to offer this. So I'm glad it's helpful. um, I have, let's see, just one or two more things for next steps here that I want to share with you, and then we'll wrap it up. So out of these techniques, just make sure that you have a couple in the back of your mind that you might want to explore for future things that might be helpful for you. I'm a nature girl. I love to go out and breathe and do some movement out in nature. That's really calming for me. Oh, okay. This one, I skipped a slide. Okay, so next steps, like we talked about, just creating that time and space for self-care and slowing down. We live in a society that wants to go, go, go all the time. It's hard to find those moments of quiet. And when we have the opportunity, we might find ourselves distracting or running away from our grief because it's really scary to be with these feelings and these emotions. But when we have those tools and those resources that we have in our back pocket that we know can help us to feel better, that we know can help to self-regulate and soothe that panic or that anxiety, then we can feel more confident to do that grief work and to really process what we're holding on to, what we're carrying with us, so that we can find more moments of that safety and that peace and calm again. So it's really a practice coming back to these tools again and again, to creating space for your feelings and being with your body and expressing your grief and doing that in a way that works for you. And that's going to be different for everybody. Everybody's grief process looks different. Everybody's body and nervous system is different depending on your experiences and your loss and the things that are supportive for you. So I know it can feel overwhelming to try to figure this out. And where do we start? You know, it might start with just practicing a few of those movements that we explored today, trying that on when we need to. And it might mean finding support from a therapist or a family friend or all of these resources that we have that are available. So I just wanted to offer a couple more resources. Of course, I'm a resource for you as well as you're navigating this grief journey. I wanted to make a special announcement that I'm going to be starting something called the Embodied Grief Circle. And this is going to be a super affordable space where we can come together in community and practice this work. It's all about exploring these nervous system regulation techniques, these exercises, breathing techniques, meditations, movement that's accessible. It's, I don't want to call it yoga, but it's kind of yoga, but it's going to be like, you're not going to be doing down dogs. You're going to be like in a chair exploring some of the things kind of like we did today. So if you're interested in trying that out and seeing what that's like, I will have a free class, not this Sunday, but next Sunday, where we will start to explore some of this. And if you're interested in doing this in community and practicing, creating some space to return to this connection with your body and in community, then that will be every Sunday evening. So 4 times a month, every week, we'll meet on Sunday evening, and we'll be able to gather in community and do some grief tending, do some nervous system regulation with other people who get it. So I will be guiding those starting soon. So keep an eye out for more information on that. And of course, that free class coming up. If you need more help with this is something you're really struggling with and you're looking for more support, and you like this embodied approach, I have a whole program. It's a 3-month program really centered around this and centered around getting down to those root causes of why we get triggered. How do we work through all of the challenges that come with navigating life after loss? So I just wanted to throw that out there as well. If you're really looking for more support, that's available, and I'm happy to talk with you about that. And then if you're just needing someone to talk with and get some direction on what's next for you, maybe you're interested in learning about the Grief Circle or my program or anything else that I can offer to you, I do free 30-minute support calls. And whether or not you want to work with me, that's okay. I have a lot of other people and resources that I can point you in the right direction. If you're just looking for a place to start, I am happy to provide that to you as well. So any questions or anything at all? Now is the time to, just to ask those. If you need anything, I'm here in the chat. And of course, yeah, feel free to reach out if you need anything at all. If you just want to talk and have a free call, that's cool too. And if you're interested in any other resources, I have lots of free things coming up. I'm always going to be posting free resources. So please continue to attend those, even if you're not ready for any one-on-one support or anything like that. This is what I'm here to do. So I appreciate you showing up and being here and creating space for grief tending and for spending time with your body and with all of us here. I know it's not easy, so you're brave for doing this work. Thank you for showing up for yourself and for all of us here. I'll be here hanging out. If anyone has any questions, you can hang back. Otherwise, that's all I got for you tonight. So feel free to go on with your evening. Otherwise, I'm here to answer any questions. Thank you all so much. Yeah, Bobby, that's wild that both of our dads had ALS. Yeah, let's definitely talk about that because that's pretty crazy. I don't know anyone else whose dad died from ALS. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Gina. Good night, everyone. Thanks.